Kilgore is a writer whose imagination spans worlds, genres, and generations of readers. His work invites readers into stories filled with adventure, imagination, and memorable characters. Stories that remind us of the power of storytelling to transport us beyond our everyday lives. A lifelong writer, Kilgore is the author of 5 young adult fantasy novels, 4 children's books, and a guide to help authors sell books. He was the president of the Eastern Shore Writers Association from 2018 to 2020, the co-chair of the Bay to Ocean Writers Conference for more years than he can remember. He and his wife Joni have 2 grown daughters, a home on Kent Island, Maryland, 2 adorable cats, and 1 large, very mean dog. Following this welcome address, Mr. Kilgore will share his insight into his journey as an author, offering inspiration and encouragement to the budding authors in our midst. None of this would be possible without the generous support of our sponsors. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Preston Automotive for sponsoring this event and to Stephen Decatur for hosting tonight's ceremony. So, without further ado, I will invite Mr. Kilgore to the stage. May this evening be a celebration of words, creativity, and the power of storytelling. Thank you for joining us in recognizing and honoring the literary achievements of our young authors.
Good evening. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you for having me here. I'm delighted to have the chance to speak to you. And if you're worried that this is going to be a long, boring speech, don't, because it won't be. As a parent, I sat through a lot of school programs too, and afterwards I never thought to myself, gee, I wish that fellow that I had never heard of before would have kept on talking longer so that I could stay out late on a weeknight. So I was asked to talk about my experience as a writer, and I will, briefly, but then I'd like to speak about the most important people in the room, and that would be you, the students getting these awards. So let's dive in. I started my writing career right where you are. Well, not here at Stephen Decatur High School in Berlin, Maryland, but at Solano Elementary School in Phoenix, Arizona. My 4th grade teacher, Mr. Ricketts, gave us a writing assignment every Friday, usually a page or so, to be done in class. The topic alternated each week between writing a journal about our daily lives or creative writing. I was never very excited about the journaling, but I really got into writing short stories, usually very fanciful ones, with all kinds of weird things happening that only a 4th grader's imagination can come up with. 4th grade came and went, but I kept writing short stories. A few years later, far off in the ancient summer of 1977, I saw a movie that changed my life, the very first Star Wars film. I decided then and there that that was what I wanted to write, so I did. 6th grade started, and my homeroom teacher, Mr. McQuaid, noticed that I was spending all my free time writing in pencil on regular line school paper, and when he found out that it was my own version of Star Wars, he excused me from English classes for the rest of the year. He said, "You just write." So I did. And that's how I wrote my first novel when I was 11 years old, and Mr. McQuaid made a copy and put it in the library there at Grandview Middle School in Phoenix. And I still have the original almost 50 years later. I went to high school. I took journalism and joined the school newspaper. I wrote poetry and short stories and essays that appeared in the annual literary magazine. The summer after my sophomore year, I wrote a horror novel because my parents introduced me to Stephen King, which is a bad decision on multiple levels. That's a parenting tip for you all. In my junior year, I started writing a post-apocalypse novel, and I finished it in my senior year. Then I rewrote it in my first year of college at the University of Maryland in College Park. It's not that impressive. It was a party school when I got in. You don't need to clap for that. In my last year at UMD, I started writing a novel that I eventually published 30 years later. After college and graduate school, life got really busy. I was married and we had babies, and I worked 2 and 3 jobs at a time, eventually becoming a technical writer for the U.S. Census Bureau. I was so busy that I got away from creative writing for a while. I got back into it with a bedtime story that I wrote for my girls. They got bigger and the story got bigger, and I published it as a young adult novel in 2012. It's Dragon Tamer's Daughters, about dragons in the Old West. Sometimes I tell people it's like Little House on the Prairie with dragons, because dragons make everything better, obviously. I liked it so much I kept writing. In 2014, I published another novel, Lost Dogs, about a German shepherd named Buddy who goes through the end of the world. The book is told from his point of view, so you get inside his head, what he hears, sees, smells, thinks, as he tries to survive and reunite with his human family. And no, he does not die. That's the question I get asked all the time. I used to be coy about it, now I just admit it right up front. People like Lost Dogs so much that I did a book about cats, Stray Cats, a few years later. But it's quite a bit different. The idea in Stray Cats is that cats really do have 9 lives, but instead of living them one after the other, like we always think, they live them all at once on different worlds. So one world is the world of Lost Dogs, where everything has come crashing down. In our world, she can talk to her owner the way I'm talking to you. In another world, she's fighting aliens alongside a space marine. In another world, she's a superhero in a comic book, and so on. It's much more fun and upbeat than Lost Dogs. I did another novel, finishing the one that I had started in college in 2018. It's called This Wasted Land, and it was very much influenced by Stephen King. So you know it's all kinds of dark and scary and gory and violently wrong, so let's not talk about that anymore. Last year, I published a swords and sorcery novel for boys called The Scorpion and the Wolf, because I learned that a lot of boys these days don't read much, and I think it's because they don't have stories written specifically for them. So I did. And I've done a bunch of kids' picture books just for a change of pace. So that led me here, and now I'm going to stop blabbering about me and talk about you. I've never met any of you, but because you're writers, I know 3 things about all of you. And the first is that you're smart. And I know that you're smart, because dumb people don't write books. Or poems, or stories. They watch TV or they scroll on TikTok. Tell me I'm wrong, you can. The second thing I know about you is that you're talented. You may not be as talented as, insert name of your favorite author here, at least not yet. But if you keep going and keep honing your talent, you might be. I know you're talented because most people usually don't do stuff that they aren't good at least for long, unless it's golf. Tell me I'm wrong about that one. The third thing I know about you is that you're dedicated, because writing is hard work, and stuff that you would think would be easy often isn't. The first time I tried putting together a kid's book for publication, I thought it would take me a weekend. It took months. Writing kids' books is harder than you think. Writing poetry is much harder than you would think, and only people who are dedicated sit down and do the hard work to make it happen. I hope this is just the beginning for you. I hope that you continue writing all through school, into college, and afterwards. And I hope you develop your own style, your own voice, and bring out your stories and words, because the world doesn't need another Stephen King. It doesn't need another J.K. Rowling. It doesn't need a Sarah J. Maas. It certainly doesn't need another Kenton Kilgore. It needs you. I've been writing stories for over 50 years. It's what I do. It's who I am. So let me offer you 3 pieces of advice to help you in your writing journey, no matter what route it takes or how it looks. And after that, I'll warn you about a big lie, and then I'll be quiet and we'll get to your awards, the reason why we're all here. So my first piece of advice is to write what makes you happy. This goes totally against what all the writing experts out there say, who insist that you have to write to market and write what's hot and chase trends. Right now, the big moneymaker is romantasy, but before that, it was young adult dystopian books, and before that, it was military fiction, and before that, it was Twilight ripoffs, and before that, it was Harry Potter clones. You don't need to write what everyone else writes. Just write what you like, and if you do it well, plenty of other people will like it too. Trust me on this. Now, don't get me wrong, I like money. I like getting paid for writing. I just sold a bunch of books at AwesomeCon in Washington, D.C. this past weekend. But if the driving reason why you're writing is so that you can become rich and famous, let me assure you there are other, quicker, easier, more reliable ways to accomplish those goals in writing. If you want to be rich, go into work developing AI or go into investment brokering or something like that. If you want to be famous, go make silly videos on TikTok. But if you're gonna write what you like and do it the best you can. And the great thing about being a writer is that the longer you do it, the better you get at it. It's not like being an athlete where you peak in your 20s, and if you keep playing much longer than that, the worse you do and the more embarrassing it is. Right, Aaron Rodgers? Right. I'm a much better writer now than I was when I published my first book, and I was a much better writer then than I was back in high school. So write and keep writing. My second piece of advice is to keep learning and growing as a writer. Don't just do the same thing over and over again. Too many writers write just one kind of thing and then they get stuck and don't get any better. So don't be afraid to write in a genre or style that you've never done before. If what you try doesn't pan out, if you don't like it, you can always write something else, but try new things, learn some new things. Speaking of learning, my third piece of advice is to find and learn everything you can from great teachers. All through elementary school and middle school, high school, undergrad at College Park, and graduate school at Washington College here on the Eastern Shore, I had amazing teachers who helped and guided and encouraged me along the way. And not all of them were English teachers. One of my favorites was my high school Latin teacher, Mrs. Squire. Here's a pro tip for you. If you want to become a better writer, take at least a few semesters of Latin. Trust me on this. So, now that I've talked about that, in closing, I want to tell you about the big lie. You may have already heard this big lie whispering inside your head when you're trying to write. This big lie has several variations. Here are just some of them. You aren't any good. Your writing stinks. You're wasting your time. This is a pipe dream. You're a loser. You have no talent. Nothing will ever come of this. If anyone reads this, you'll look like an idiot. You're embarrassing yourself. No one will ever want to read this. You should quit. As I said, the big lie has several variations, but its singular goal is to discourage you, to make you give up, to silence your voice, to waste your talent. Do not listen to this lie. Do not believe this lie. It is not true. Not one bit of it is true. Nor is this lie unique to you. Every writer has heard this lie. Every one of them. The reason why you know about the writers who do is because they did not listen to this lie. They did not believe it, and neither should you. Now, I'm not going to spin you a fairy tale and try to convince you that all of you will achieve whatever your dream of becoming a writer is. I'm not going to tell you that you will be the next insert name of your favorite author here. I'm not going to tell you that you're going to sell millions of copies of all your books and become rich and famous. Because to get there, a lot of things have to happen, almost all of which are outside your control. Being talented and working hard isn't just enough in the book business. There's an awful lot of luck and other people involved. Is that fair? No, but that's just how it is. What I am going to tell you, though, is that if you keep writing, if you publish your work, either through a traditional publisher or by yourself, and if you put it out there, you will write a story or a poem or an essay or a memoir or a history that touches someone and makes a difference in their life, a piece of your writing that they will carry around in their head for the rest of their days and cherish it like it's a treasure. And if those writers meet you or find you online, they will tell you that. It's already happened to me many times, and I know it will happen for you. Trust me on this, and go make it happen. So thank you again for having me. Good luck in the future. Reach out to me if you want more advice or help, and congratulations on your awards.